Here's my impression of every single conversation that happens around the end of August.
Man, the summer is just flying by.
Yeah, I didn't get to do the things I hoped to do.
Well, today I'm getting out of the house. I'm gonna change that. I love having a day where I just go and cycle around the city, work from a coffee shop. We're gonna change it up though with one thing. We're gonna change the laptop. This is the Asus ProArt P16. Asus sent this over to test out and I thought I'd just explore creating with it, trying my filmmaking process, what it would be like if I was just working from the city all day remotely. So let's go and check this out and I'll tell you a little bit about it and what my thoughts are. Grab a coffee before we go any further. What's your coffee order? Usually oatmeal cortado is the move for me. So this is why leaving the house is always a risk. The coffee at home is so dialed in. Okay, so let's talk about initial feelings when I pulled this out of the box. I think this is the first Windows laptop that I've actually held where it didn't feel plasticky. It's got this matte black finish on it. It's the nano black finish. So when you touch it with your hands, it minimizes the fingerprints and the residue left on the actual laptop itself. In terms of size and weight, it's about 14.9 millimeters thin and weighs about 1.85 kilograms. So for a day out biking with it, it's not the worst on the back. It has a similar feel that a MacBook Pro has. It's premium. You can tell that there's good machining done. It's a aluminum CNC body. Asus actually has a certain standards that they hold us to. It's the US military durability standards. So basically drops, heat, cold, extreme weather conditions, dust, all of those are being tested on this laptop to make sure it can actually stand all of that at any given point. And I think as somebody who is a traveler who ends up in some of the most unique countries with extreme cold or extreme heat or basically dust, sand, whatever moisture might be involved, it's nice to at least know you have a laptop that's going to not be delicate in those situations and you can still do your job. It's so funny. It's one of those things that the moment you shoot in the world, it's like everybody with a lawnmower is like, I'm gonna start cutting right now. Every single flight taking out of Toronto is like, you know what, we're gonna go right now. So I hope that I have a little window here where there's not much sound and we can get through this. So we're gonna talk about the display on this laptop because that is a huge standout feature for me with one little asterisk around the refresh rate, which we'll get to afterwards. So let me just go through the key features. 16-inch, it's got a 16:10 4K OLED touchscreen. It's 100% DCI P3 color gamut, VESTA display HDR, True Black 500. If you've never edited on an OLED laptop before or had that experience, it is so nice to see that contrast ratio. It's 1,000,000:1, so the blacks look really, really black. And because we're talking about that DCI, you know that it's going to be color accurate if you do any form of color grading or making sure that your colors are going to look the way they're supposed to look when you post them online and or print them or distribute them however you're going to be distributing them. It's got 0.2 millisecond certified response time, 1.07 billion colors. It's Pantone validated. You also have the True Black 500, which means it can support up to 500 nits of peak brightness and 0.0005 nits of deep black brightness. That basically means that you have enough brightness that you could work in an outside environment like this or a space that is very, very bright rather than having to do this. You ever done this before when you're working outside? You're like, oh, okay, great, now I can see everything. That's awesome. The touchscreen has Corning Gorilla Glass NPT. It just means it's very strong. And also, I will note, this is the little asterisk I was talking about before. It is 60 hertz refresh rate. And before you turn off, I do want to mention one thing. This right here, the HDMI port can output to 120 hertz. So you can use a 120 hertz monitor if you needed to have some sort of workaround. As a photographer, as a video editor, this is more than enough to have 60 hertz. I don't use this for gaming. I use this in a professional setting for my work. So it's not a deal breaker for me. And this laptop is really geared at content creators and designers and artists. So just a little note right there. Just wanted to catch that before everyone started going off in the comment section about it. Overall, it's a really positive experience. I would say the display is really nice. I'm gonna test the US military grade durability. I used to be able to spin a flutter board when I was a lifeguard on my finger, so let's see. No, why am I doing this? This is just a bad idea. Okay, this looks cool. It looks sketchy, but whatever. Let's sit up here. This laptop is very much geared at content creators like myself. So it has all of the fixings. This is an SD Express card reader. So basically you can transfer SD cards up to 985 megabytes per second. You have a normal USB 3.2 type A. You also have a USB 4 type C, which means you can also transfer up to 40 gigabytes per second, and you can also charge the computer with a 100 watt USB charger just in case you don't have the DCI port right here, so, which is right there. It comes with a charging unit. It has a full-size HDMI, which can output to 8K as well as 120 hertz, and you have your type USB-C, another USB type A, and your audio combo jack. All essentials if you create. On the inside, you have MediaTek Wi-Fi 7, which allows you to transfer up to 2.88 gigabytes per second. This is actually the biggest concern in my workflow right now is upload and download speeds, mainly because I live in Canada and the internet companies here and where I live have just kind of throttled the internet. So at least I know that the laptop is not throttling that workflow. It's just
Canada and where I live.
I also think this is the first Windows laptop that I've found the audio experience to be really nice. I'm gonna go see if I can find an area that's quiet so I can play back some video clips for you to hear somewhat what it sounds like. Because it has 2 tweeters and 4 subwoofers, the audio sounds really good. You can even like mix in 5.1 Dolby surround sound if you needed to. So let's go see if we can do a little test. I just pulled over to the side while I was biking and I was like, oh, this would be such an amazing area to just sit and work for the day. Hopefully it's quiet enough here and we'll be able to showcase this example. Let's just set up Premiere Pro. Okay, audio test, listen to this. It sounds good. Last part before we jump into what's underneath the hood is this trackpad right here. That is a massive trackpad in comparison to at least any of the other ones that I've used in the past. And if you see right there, they have this little dial where you can customize that to serve a function. So if you're using like Adobe Suite, you can make it a Photoshop brush and you can change the size, or you can kind of change it to go along the timeline. It's basically fully customizable. You can use it for whatever setting that you like, which is actually a good segue into some of the efficiencies and workflow setups that they have on this computer. So they have the ProArt Creator Hub, which basically allows you to customize and set up your machine to dial in the gamma, to calibrate it, to kind of choose where the RAM is going for different programs so you can optimize the performance and the speed of your laptop. And you can even set up workspace grouping. So let's say you're like script writing for a video. You can literally have it set up to open up a certain set of apps that you use. And then if you go into editing, you can click one button and it would open up all the editing things that you need. Having those fully customizable features are really nice for workflow. I'm very hungry. I would like to go and get some protein and something to eat right now. Okay, let's dive into the performance of this computer. I'm gonna rifle off the things that are underneath the hood. We have the AMD Ryzen AI 9 HX 3070 processor, 12 cores, 24 threads. It's got a 321 TOPS NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070 laptop GPU for all the advanced AI workflows. The fact that there is a 4070 in this is mind-blowing considering I went out of my way to get an RTX 2030 to put in my desktop computer only like 3 years ago. 64 gigs of RAM and 2 terabytes standard for your SSD, but you can go up to 4 terabytes. And then you also have a tri-fan cooling system for all your rendering. So I can confirm that basically all of this means that if you're a video editor, you get lag-free video editing. I can actually show you right now playback in Premiere Pro. I have some Amazon legs that So that is lag-free footage with color grading, Rec 709, audio manipulation, all the things that you would have on a highly rendered clip, just playing back without issues. I'm not not a huge person in the AI space yet. I haven't really adopted it into my workflow, but this is notable. There are 3 pieces of software that come pre-installed on this computer. Number 1 is StoryCube. So basically this will look through all of the files on your computer for photos and videos and help you organize those based on what's in it. So this will just allow you to find files easier, especially if you're a video editor. If you ever spend like 3 or 4 hours just trying to find a single asset, even if you have good naming structure, it can still be hard to find those things. So this should just hopefully speed up your workflow. The next one is called MuseTree, which is basically a place to find creative inspiration, but they actually have this sketching software where you could essentially, for example, draw a rose and then turn that into multiple assets, whether it's like art or some sort of like PNG or JPEG that you can put into your video afterwards. So it's a space where it can build off of your own ideas. And then they have a co-pilot service where you can ask it questions and it will give you quick answers or help you find files. So those things in terms of the creative workflow should speed it up quite a bit. This is what the battery charger looks like. It's 200 watts, comes with this cable too. For me, I actually use this travel anchor adapter, which then I use to charge my computer. And because this can actually charge off of USB-C with 100 watts, I would probably just end up using that since that allows me to charge multiple devices too. So just some considerations there in terms of the battery life. And then with my experience, I've only had it for about a week, but the battery life is quite good. I haven't needed to charge it multiple times. I can just use it, pick up from where I left off without needing to like constantly have it plugged in. About a day's worth of work, depending on what you're doing, obviously. Final thoughts on this laptop after using it for the last week or so as a self-identified MacBook Pro fanboy. I think this is the first time I've ever used a Windows computer that the actual build quality was comparable to what I've experienced with MacBook Pro. The overall experience in terms of the display and the performance is on par with any of the MacBook M3s in my personal opinion. So at this point, it's really your choice on what works best for your workflow. I think if you're a content creator, a video editor, a designer, anybody who's a creative, this laptop will be very sufficient in terms of your professional needs and hobbyist needs. It's rugged, it's premium to the touch, you don't get finger smudgies all over it. The performance is very good. The OLED screen is really nice. It's got color calibration and it's not too heavy to the point where it's annoying to lug around or carry down your back either on trips down into the city or whenever you're traveling. So this is a laptop that I can get behind. This is a laptop I could see myself using on a more regular basis. So thank you ASUS for sponsoring this video and letting me check out the ProArt P16. If you guys want to learn more about this laptop, I will leave a link in the description below. It is time to head home. It's about a 1-hour bike ride. Peace.